All right, and welcome everyone back to the Black Psychologist Podcast. I am your humble host and clinician, Dr. Kyle Osborne, and I'm here with the one and only my co-host, Dr. Jason Coleman. How are you today, sir?
I'm good, my brother. How's your weekend, man?
It's cool, man. They always go too quick. So, here we are
Yeah,
back at the top of the week, man.
yeah, man. Those Nets are looking dangerous right now. You
Yeah, yeah.
know,
How about that? Yeah. But the question is, when does KD come back? That's the question.
if he even come back. I
That's
mean, I'm not. I hope he come back, but they be
nah.
playing too many games with these injuries.
I don't know, man. Either he's getting ready to only come back in the playoffs, or there's another thing that'll be a whole different podcast.
Yeah, it's probably more likely that what you
Mm-hmm.
said. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. We'll definitely stay tuned for all that. You know, and of course, to everybody, appreciate everybody listening. Continue to watch, continue to listen, subscribe, like, comment, all these other different things. So I saw a couple of different comments in there. I think in one of the past episodes. So Dr. J and I will definitely be looking at those comments, and we appreciate the support and some of the feedback. So. Uh,
definitely. Thank you.
Absolutely. So without further
Um,
ado, let's get into it.
all right.
All right. So unfortunately, we're starting off another episode right after I think we did the most previous episode. There was another shooting that took place. We had talked about the Atlanta mass shootings last week, and unfortunately, there was another mass shooting that took place in Boulder, Colorado, where unfortunately 10 people were killed. So before anything, we definitely want to show out, acknowledge and thoughts and prayers to the families of the people that were affected, the victims and their families. So we definitely want to send our condolences to them, and our thoughts and prayers are with them.
Oh,
And
definitely, definitely. I mean, that's definitely a horrible event, and obviously, it's far too common nowadays.
so as information is coming out, of course, the thing that tends to follow these mass shootings is what's the blame, right? What contributes to someone doing this heinous act? And the defense is gathering more information on the status of his mental health. A lot of news outlets are suggesting that mental health is the cause, and law enforcement are saying that the suspect or the gunman had a history of mental health. And it seems like, again, this tends to always follow when an event like this takes place, right? It's like automatically mental health, right? Check the person's mental health. This is, this has got to be an issue or contributing to it. So, what are your thoughts about that when these unfortunate events take place? What are your thoughts when that first thing that tends to pop up is the mental health aspect, or they tend to want to run with that
I,
narrative?
I mean, it depends, right? Because it depends. Like for some people, like a select group of these people, it's it might be a legitimate mental health issue, but that's not really usually, not usually, but on a lot of different occasions, that's apparent when the crime is committed as well, that it's a person with a mental health issue, right? Because of how they were behaving sometimes at the time that they committed the crime, but I don't think you're really referring to that. I think you're referring to what really comes from the media and like from lawyers, right?
Right.
Because you have
Right.
the lawyers that are trying to point to a mental health issue, or the news organizations that are digging into the records and seeing, a person was either seen or screened or whatever the case is, and then
Mm-hmm.
they do that. So I think those two situations have to be separated,
Right.
right? Because somebody walks into a bank, God forbid, and they're talking to themselves, you know what I'm saying, and they're following command voices in their head, you know, they may be behaving a particularly erratic way that leads us down that road. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, we've gotten into the habit where we got law enforcement officers who are making that declaration in front of news cameras, right?
Right. Exactly.
Um, so that's what I think you kind of asking about. So that really has to kind of stop.
Yeah, because I feel like it's dangerous when we make accusations like that without getting additional information. Because the common question that'll pop up, and like you said, you really have to separate a lot of factors. Is that, does mental illness drive these mass shootings?
Right.
And you really have to be careful, because I feel like the narrative with some of the news outlets and some of the defense of maybe the suspects, they tend to cast blame on mental illness, and I feel like that's misplaced, because we don't necessarily, one, we don't have that information, and two, you know there's no psychotic disorder where the symptom is shooting other people, right?
Right.
That's not the way it works, right? Like you said. And I feel like that it when we do jump to that conclusion without, again, a history of what someone has experienced in the past, or without getting additional information, it furthers and reinforces that stereotype of, okay, so people with mental illnesses, they're violent,
But
right? And and I know that's not true. That's not the case. There are plenty of people walking around with a serious mental illness, with such as schizophrenia, such as bipolar disorder, such as depression, and they don't have a single violent thought, going through their head at the time. So I feel like that's where we kind of get into those dangerous kind of irresponsible waters, when we just all of a sudden we can just throw, the mental illness label and say this is what's blaming, or this is what caused these type of shootings or these type of events.
I mean, just kind of to piggyback on that a little bit. I think, again, the problem usually is who's making that declaration, right? Because most of the time they're not talking about a specific, mental health, issue, or specific psychological disorder, right? They're not
Right.
anything specific, but what they're doing is adding to stigma of commonly known disorders. So what they'll say is, he snapped, right? He couldn't take the pressure, right? So they're going to imply that somebody had anxiety, or they're going to describe depressive symptoms and then say,
Right.
yeah, went and did this, right? They're going to describe his behavior over the last couple. That's what they do. So it contributes to stigma, obviously, right? Because you're implying that people that have nervous breakdowns regularly go pick up guns and go kill people. That doesn't happen regularly. You know what I'm saying? Not to
Exactly.
minimize it, obviously, but I'm talking about the absurdity of people trying to conflate those two things. You know what I mean? Because for all we know, I mean, who knows? I'm sure none of them had access to his mental health record. So everybody's speculating. And what mental health issue means, you could be getting treated for anxiety, or you could have had an inpatient hospitalization for 2 years. You know what I'm saying? What is that mental health history? What does that mean? And what does it mean to different people? So
Yeah, I think it's easy. I think it's I don't want to. I feel like it's easy for someone just to kind of throw the mental health label at their, oh, it was mental illness, to explain a behavior that's so deplorable, right? It's like you're looking for a situation, like what you're looking for explanation of, like, okay, how can we justify, or what was going on with this person that they did something so heinous? And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, let's throw, yeah, like you said, he couldn't take the pressure, he had a bad day, or he was experiencing this, so it's got to be the mental illness thing. And it's like, no, it's a quick answer. Like, and and I know that in any type of situation, especially something such as this, that there are a lot more factors than just saying that, oh, someone has a mental illness, or he has a history of these issues, and that's what completely drove the cause, right? Because it goes like in a cycle where, unfortunately, a mass shooting takes place, and then the narrative comes where you might have some people on one aisle saying, oh, gun reform, we got to get these gun laws, and then you have others saying, oh, well, it's not the gun laws, it's the mental illness, we need mental health reform. And then we kind of go around and round, and then these things kind of get placed in blame, and it's so many other different factors that contribute to a situation like this. But like you said, it's, for me, it's like it's a quick answer that tends to get thrown out there, which is, again, like you said, just reinforces this stigma that's so harmful to people that are experiencing, or that are working to manage their mental health issues.
yeah, I mean, because for all we know, this dude could have, planned over weeks and months, and woke up that day and made a conscious decision to go murder these people. So he has to be held responsible for that. You know what I mean? And to be honest with you, I think at this point, I think people, I think unconsciously, right, they're trying to make themselves feel better, right? Because if they can blame it on mental illness, then it's like, okay, regular people that I'm walking around with wouldn't do that, right? So it's the us versus them again. Like I feel a
There
little
you
safer.
go. Yeah.
I feel a little safer because the people with the mental health issues did it. When no, you know what I mean? And first of all, this is the problem. I think people are dealing with it reverse problems anyway, because I think people with mental health challenges, issues need help. Yeah, but 10 people are dead, right? So he needs to be held accountable for his behavior first. And then the treatment, that's going to come. You already know he's going to get plenty of evaluations on the states. You understand what I'm saying? So for anybody to stand there the day all them people got murdered and talk about and give whatever their opinion is about what his mental health, the disorder or issues could be, unless it's his therapist or his psychologist standing there doing it, whoever did it is ignorant of whatever they were talking about because they don't know. You know what I mean? And again, like I said, the purpose why they're doing it is essentially, you know what I mean, to make themselves feel better or the public feel better. If the police stand up there and say, oh, the guy with bipolar disorder did it, then everybody else feels better, right?
Exactly. Like you said, like there are so many different factors and things that a quote unquote everyday person is, going through, like could be experiencing, right? That can contribute to this. Like you got factors like access to guns, you got family dynamics, right? You got the person's past behavior, you got whether the person might, may have these, racism, misogyny, right? Gender and age, because it seems like a lot of these mass shootings, the demographic is that this person is young, male, right? Happens to be a certain, white, all the, a lot of these things, all these things have to be taken into consideration, as opposed to you just saying like someone getting up there and be like, hey, oh yeah, person, he's schizophrenia, that's why, right? And so, it's just like you said, it just becomes really dangerous when we have so many other different things for us to, take in consideration and to kind of mitigate that them versus us. Oh, it's the crazy people. It's the people who have mental health issues. They're the ones we have to make sure that, we have to watch out for. And, that's not the case. So I'm hoping that more accurate information comes out. And, again, accountability first and foremost also for the person, because, 10 people or some people, there are a lot of lives that changed that particular day, right, that were affected by these killings. So and through all of the other information that comes out, it's not a situation where mental health can be a single blame, because mental illness is not a predictor of violence. And so that's the thing that we continue to have to educate people on, so that these misconceptions when these situations take place don't continue to spiral out, and it unfairly gets affects people that are managing their mental health. So we'll see, we'll stay tuned as far as with this information. So but it's unfortunate, and I'm hoping this is not a trend that continues to accelerate as far as as we go through the rest of this year. So we'll see.
We'll see.
All right. So moving down south, all right. As you know, it's March. It's spring break, and there are some things going on down in Miami, my friend. All right.
I heard.
Yeah, you heard that? Yeah.
I've been working. I heard.
So as because it is that time of year, spring break, it's warm. Florida is open, unlike a lot of other states. So you have a lot of people that are flocking down to Miami to let off some steam, to say the least. Right. And so what we saw over the past week is that things got a little hectic in Miami. Right. I saw the video. We saw things on the gram. We saw stuff Facebook. We saw things on the news, and what resulted in a lot of negative behavior. We're gonna label it and put it in that frame. early
You probably
curfew.
saw more. You probably saw more video than me. So enlighten me. What was they down there doing?
All right, man. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you on this. So, you saw a lot of people dancing on cars, pussy popping, all kinds of stuff, man. They doing, things were
Right.
overcrowded streets. Unfortunately, a lot of people were looting in and out of stores. I'm not sure if
Wait a
that
minute.
really got told about or was really highlighted. A lot of people, a lot of
Who was
patrons
looting?
doing.
I didn't hear nothing about that. I just
Bro,
thought people
listen,
party.
yo, man, listen. It was going down there. It was a lot of
But
overcrowded streets.
okay, all in the context of spring break, though, right?
I mean, it's spring break season, but it's like a lot of people that were down there. I don't think we're all in school. So you see what I'm
Oh,
saying?
I'm
It's
saying
during that time though.
right.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
spring. Yeah, it's spring break season, but and I know it's a lot of people that not all
I
those. Yeah,
I,
so it's Miami also, right?
yeah.
So it's down there. They're open, and so things got out of hand these past few days down there, and so yeah, it was a lot of people. They were on top of cars. They were in the streets. They, running in and out of restaurants and all kinds of stuff, man. And so what the Miami-Dade police and the law enforcement down there is that one that they enforced an early curfew at like 8 p.m. on a Saturday. Um,
Okay.
they had street closures. They were closing parking lots. They were firing pepper balls into the street or into crowds. Um, it wasn't a tank that they brought in, but I know it was like one of those heavily like armored vehicles. I don't know what the correct labelization or the term is, but it was heavy artillery. So that's went down. A lot of people got arrested. People got hurt in stampedes and other different things. So things it was very chaotic to say the least, right?
Right.
So NCAA officials had some concerns because they argue that the city's amped up police presence and the aggressive enforcement sends an unwelcoming messaging towards Black visitors. So the question that I'm posing is, did race play a role in all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's your take on that?
Um, I mean, when you're talking about policing, you know what I mean, and you're talking about massive crowds and events like that, it always plays a role.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, right now with this incident, I mean, it always plays a role. So the question is like, how big of a role did it play? Right. So that's what you're asking, right? Um, I mean, listen, first, let's talk about the question, right? Yes, it played a role, right? Obviously, it played a role, right?
Right.
The only one of the problems I had with this was obviously people's behavior. That's one thing that you could talk about, but I'm not talking about the people's behavior, right? We're talking about whether race played a role. And they was firing pepper balls at them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I look at that, and then I look at the January 6th storm in the Capitol.
Right.
And I would look at how long it took for the police to respond with that level of force, pepper balls, right? It took a very long time. Like people had to commit treason. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Committing treason, standing on top of cars. You understand what I'm saying? It took them hours for all of that type of response. I know it ain't take Miami PD that long. So that's a big problem, right? Obviously, but that's my answer. But we can go back to the logic. I don't think the whole event was logical anyway. I don't think it should have been a spring break, right? But this is the thing, right? So, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna let you take it, right? So I think race definitely played a role, but I don't think the event should have happened, right? Because the city set that environment, because what they did was they wanted the revenue from all of those people. Mm-hmm. They wanted the hotel revenue, the taxi revenue, the eatery revenue, the bar revenue, and then they wanted to say, go home at 8:00. Are you crazy? That's not going to happen in Miami, and it's not going to happen for spring break. So either you want the revenue or you want to COVID protocols, right? In order, but you can't have both, So my answer is like, what do you expect? Well, what do you think?
No, I definitely feel that I believe that race played an issue in in no way or form or fashion am I condoning the activity that was going on down there as far as any laws being broken, people getting hurt, things of that nature. I mean, because, bad behavior is bad behavior, you breaking laws, all kinds of things, right? So that's what it is. In no way am I condoning that. At the same time, I do agree with you. Like, I agree. The first thing when I saw this taking place, and I'm like, wow, they're really they're going really heavy on some of these on the pedestrians, on the people down there, is that I saw a lot less enforcement in January, right? Now I get it. This is Washington and one is in Miami, but at the same time, like, I saw a completely different reaction where people had to made their way inside the Capitol, right?
Bro,
So that was my thing, and I'm like, I didn't see any of that. And yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to. I understand because the Miami-Dade police are saying, "Oh, we were policing conduct and so on and so forth." Yeah, did the shit get out of control? It did, absolutely. However, there are a lot of different ways for you to manage that. I'm not going to sit here and say and act like I'm a sheriff and I'm law enforcement. And I'm sure, things again got out of hand. However, the manner in which that aggressive type of behavior in law enforcement was, and it wasn't like, at least from what I saw, it wasn't like the crowd was pushing back at them. But like you said, like 8 p.m. on a Saturday, like, and like you said, you set the tone for that, right? You set the playing field for all these people to come down and spend money. And now you're like, well, hey, this is getting out of hand. Why are so many people here? Let's bring in this aggressive force that we have to do to get these folks out of here.
Let me ask you a question. If you own a club, right, and it holds 1,000 people, right? You own it. You the owner. You get all the money at the end of the night, right? Off the bar, off the dance floor, everything, right? If person A is in there and they get trampled, right? Who's held responsible? Whether they being rowdy or not, whether they in the mosh pit or not, if they get trampled and they get hurt, who's getting sued and who's paying?
Oh no, you're right. You know who?
Right. Why? Because the day before the party, it doesn't matter what happened. The day before the party, you knew it was going to be 1,000 people in there.
Right.
So what your job to do what? To prepare, right? With security, right? With VIP sections, right? With limiting the capacity, right? So you think how many years they've been doing spring break?
Exactly.
Right. So why are we blaming the people? Right. It only happens, and this is why race is involved, right? Because it only happens because it's us down there. Any other part of the country, if the kids get out of control, they're going to be talking about firing police for allowing them to get out of control, right? So this is, listen, are people responsible for their behavior? Yes. But why is there a focus on, because I saw the video of the girls dancing on the car. And the more you talk about it, I talk about it, the less moved I am by it, because I now I'm starting to think everybody is seeing the same video. You understand what I mean?
The thing, like you said, the key word is the preparation. You knew that this was going to happen. Miami has been overcrowded more than that pre-COVID. Bro, you see what I'm saying? Like you know, and I know what Miami looks like at that certain time. Hell, you know what Miami looks like Memorial Day weekend. So don't tell me. You see what I mean? Like you set the table, and preparation could have been put forth.
Bro, don't blame the people out there. If you don't want them dancing on cars, right? If there was a police presence in them, I'm not saying I want police everywhere. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, if they had prepared the environment so that people couldn't congregate in the street and dance on cars, they wouldn't be doing it, right? So they didn't prepare the environment, obviously, because they weren't talking about there was a takeover in Miami Beach. They just talking about people was wild, and we don't want you to come here. So that's the thing, like. Stop moving. You can't just move the goalpost. It's the city's responsibility for being prepared. They're not going to give none of that money back. They want all the money, but they don't want any of the responsibility for providing the safe experience and maintaining the safety of the participants. Man, get out of here.
Yeah, they also didn't shut things down the following day. They didn't say, well, you know what, all stores and clubs are closed.
Because they want the money.
Exactly.
They want money. Of course, they always want our money. they even like, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm sure quiet as kept, they even appreciate the money from the arrests and the tickets.
That's true. Yeah, you got a bill. Yeah, all that. Yeah. So so absolutely. So that's unfortunate. I'm hoping that people that were hurt, hopefully they're okay. However, like and I know, like we just discussed, that there's definitely a lot more factors present, and that could have been avoided. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll
So
see. All right.
listen,
So COVID. COVID-19, as
we're
we
going to
as we've discussed previously, unfortunately, COVID, the pandemic is present, right? It's always going to be the most salient thing and topic as we continue to go forward, because this is our existence, right? It's here. And so you have a lot of different organizations, you have a lot of businesses, you have a lot of different areas that are trying to figure out how to move forward, in a healthy manner with either their employees, with their customers, students, whatever. So now we're looking at Rutgers University just recently enforced, or they have the notion where they're going to go forward this fall with letting students back on campus. However, what their plans are is that they are saying that all students have to be vaccinated in order for them to set foot on campus. So you can still enroll, like if you aren't vaccinated, you can still enroll and take the online courses and things of that nature. However, if you want to take in-person courses, if you want to come in and be on campus and things, you have to get vaccinated. So they're making that mandatory. All right. Mm-hmm. What's your take on that?
I mean, I think it's a good idea, but I don't really think vaccination is controversial. So, my position isn't the same as other people. So I respect people that disagree with me, but again, they got a student positivity rate between 60 and 70%. I wouldn't send my kid on that campus unless it was vaccinated. It's a similar situation to the public schools now, right? Mm-hmm. It's the exact same reason why there's no kids in school right now, or they're in hybrid, because the parents don't feel comfortable, right? So when you could be comfortable in knowing that everybody that's on campus is vaccinated, or the students, and yeah, I think it's a good thing. In addition to all the other things they're doing, What do you think?
No, I feel like I like the thought process. I feel like any steps that you can take or any initiatives you can put forward to keep people safe, to keep, like you said, because of the rates are so high, I say I'm all for it. I've read some mixed reactions, and again, I had to kind of step back and say, well, you know what, like I'm pro, vaccination, and so I'm okay with it. And then also I'm not in school, right?
What was the point of view they was presenting?
So they were pointing, some people, of course, are thinking like it's it's hinging on their rights. It's some people, again,
the right to do what?
I guess, their freedom. Some people don't want to get vaccinated, but they still want to go to school. They feel like they should have the right not to do so, and things of that nature. And like, hey, that school of thought, again, like you said, people have the freedom and have the right to disagree based off of whatever their experiences are. So what I did, I said, you know what, let me step back, because I know where I stand and I feel like it's a good idea, but I'm not a student. So I said, you know what, I know a couple college students, I know one or two that I'm pretty close with. And I was like, you know what, let me reach out to, baby girl who is a freshman at a PWI, and she's on campus. And so I said, you know what, let me touch base and kind of gauge what the temperature would be from a student perspective, right? And I was like, hey, reach out to a couple of your friends, see what their thought process is, right? In case the school that she's at is not, I don't think they're going forward with this initiative, but just to kind of see, like, hey, if this were your school, like, what would your thoughts be? So her personal feeling was, she's kind of on the fence. She's not anti-vaccine or vaccination, but she's just like, she wants to get more information about it. She would be, long story short, she said she would go with it. Like if they were to mandate it, she would go ahead and do it because she wants to be on campus, right? So she's like, also, she brought up the point, like, well, she was like, in a lot of schools, a lot of immunizations and vaccinations are required anyway for you to be on campus. So she's like, I guess it wouldn't make any difference if they made the COVID vaccination mandatory. And she's like, she said she understands why they would do it and it would be a good thing, but she'd be like, what did she say? She said she would be low key mad, but she would go forward with it anyway. Right. So I'm like, all right, well, reach out to the rest of your friends. So see how you feel. So the majority of her friends, and she asked about 5 or 6 people in her close friend group, then that they were all cool with it. Right. So I'll read a couple of responses because she sent me the text. She said some of them are already on board with getting the vaccine anyway. So even if the school were to do that, they're already on board with getting it. A lot of them are looking at it from, hey, well, if we get the vaccine, then that means it's safer to be up here. That means things will be more open because, it's more healthier atmosphere. And so, they'll be on board with that because they, how kids are. Listen, whatever makes things open up more so they can do more, they're all with, right? Now, a couple of them did say, even though they're for it, they know that it's going to probably be some outrage because you are going to have a population or a certain percentage of students that are like, they don't want to do it. They don't like being forced to do something, But at least from this temperature,
but they can still go to school though. They can still go online. They still got the option to go online.
Yeah, so they would still have to go online. So they still have that option, right? But a lot of people, they want to be on campus. They want to be, they want to be out there. They want to be live the college life. So, at least from this small sample group, they would be in favor of it. They'd be cool. They know some people will be upset, but they'd be cool with it because they're already planning on getting and they want things to be open. So if they can, whatever it'll take to get like more stuff open on campus, they'd be cool with.
Listen, I know a lot of people have a hard time understanding this, because a lot of this has become political and emotional, but it's a reason why I can't smoke cigarettes in the movie theater. You understand what I'm saying? Right. I can't smoke cigarettes in the movie theater because research done showed that it could give you cancer. So I could go smoke cigarettes outside, right? Because I can go kill myself if I smoke cigarettes. It's the same thing with COVID. You can't go on campus without a vaccination because you have the right to put yourself at risk, but you don't have the right to go to school around other people and infect them. Right. You understand? About getting vaccinated. It's very simple. So nobody's saying that you have to get vaccinated, but if you want to come in here, you got to get vaccinated because those same people, they'll apply that logic when they go into Wawa because they want a sandwich that bad. So no matter what they believe, they'll put on a mask and go into Wawa because they want to get a sandwich, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to learn on campus, then you get vaccinated. If you don't, then you learn over your computer. It's very simple, but people want to attach emotion to it, but it's a very simple concept. You know what I'm saying? Because if we were just allowed to do whatever we want, then, you know what I'm saying? Again, you could smoke cigarettes in the movie theater.
I agree, bro. So, I mean, and I think that's kind of the mind or the thought process that, at least the kids that got back to me or through Trend were the same thing. They want to come to school, listen, get vaccinated. So shout out to the Mac and Cheese group for participating in that small research sample. Appreciate that.
You know what though? I wanted to ask you a question.
What's up?
Because the controversial part of this story, to me was, I don't know if you caught it, but they said that the professors, they didn't have to get vaccinated.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
So yeah, and I didn't understand it either. So if we're gonna be honest.
But that might come down to, I think, more the employment things, right? So I think it's different as far as student body. I think it's foolproof for them to say, hey, we need students that are coming from all different areas and so on and so forth. I think they're cool as far as legally and like policy. I think it's more the employment things. Now, and I know when it comes to administrative and employment regulations and unions and whatever else, I think that's where the issue is coming from. I don't know if Rutgers is able to mandate it because of the employee aspect.
So you're talking about a problem with enforcement, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I feel like it should be uniform.
Right. So my thing would be, if you're allowing one teacher to come on that campus without being vaccinated with a mask and teach a class, then all the students should be allowed to come on there without a mask. You understand where I'm going with
No,
this?
because it definitely leaves open for Pandora's box. Like you can't say, oh, for the students, but then you can have a teacher or a professor bringing that in. You can't do that.
Knock it off. Come on, we're not fools. And students aren't fools either. So if that is the policy, they're going to have a big issue with that very quickly, because how do they know that? I mean, they can't be any more confident that the teacher that has a mask on, is infected himself and isn't touching things and blah, 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 blah,
That's true. Yeah, they're going to have to make that more, tight, get that situated, because they'll definitely, like you said, have a lot of problems. All right. So moving on real quick. Article came across your desk about who drinks responsibly, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So so surprising study actually investigated the relationship between personality and alcohol use, found that neuroticism was associated with more problematic alcohol consumption. Surprisingly, they also said that consciousness and agreeableness were strongly or more strongly related to 3 categories of alcohol misuse and neuroticism. So what are your thoughts about that?
I mean, listen, the first part of the article wasn't really too surprising, because when you start talking about people depressed, angry, volatile, don't really know how to deal with stress, maladaptive coping strategies, and then the what they were measuring, like risky behavior, I could see there being a relationship there. You know what I mean? To me, I guess the more interesting part of it was when they started talking about the conscientiousness, and the agreeableness part of it, the only because, like, I honestly, like, I guess anecdotally, the most responsible people I know, or not the most responsible people, let me say that, the most conscientious people, right? So the most organized, self-controlled people, they weren't necessarily the people that I knew that drank the least, because a lot of those people, and again, this is anecdotally, opposite of what the study said, but a lot of those people, when they got in certain environments, they were kind of let loose, a lot,
Right.
So that to me was, I don't want to say surprising, because in general, of course, how we can see how somebody that's more responsible, organized, self-control, how they could go, in an environment, and be the designated driver. Of course, I'm kind of more talking like anecdotally. That's why it was interesting to me, because I've seen a lot of people, whether it be doctoral programs, master's programs, where kind of the most reserved, kind of more responsible person you thought in the cohort is like, we have a party, and they all of a sudden,
they got the punch bowl on their head.
Yeah.
Like,
so
they getting lit. Yeah.
Right. So that part of it was a little, that part of it was, interesting to me. But I kind of had another question I wanted to get your opinion on, but what do you think of the article in general?
First, I mean, I think it's intuitive. Like, like you said, it makes sense. Like you said, people who are already kind of struggling in those areas they're going to be more impulsive. They're definitely going to have the issues with tolerance and things of that nature. So that makes sense. Environment, like you said, I feel like that really is an imperative factor, because it depends, like you said, if you're around comfortable people, whether you're the most responsible person in your professional life, I feel like you said, you'll let loose, right? So environment to me has a big role, or is a big factor that I feel like, as far as, I guess if you want to talk about the amount of, but then I guess in the article, they also talked about, misuse. And of course, a lot of times misuse and other different things are measured by the result of drinking, right? So if you're drinking in a manner that you have, negative consequences or results from drinking, then of course, then, the folks that have the higher skill than neuroticism are gonna, of course, be drinking more. But I feel like environment has a lot to do with it. If you're comfortable around people, you know how that'll go.
So let me ask you this, because this was the part of the article I really wanted to ask you about. So they were talking about the responsibility of the companies, right? Mm-hmm. So this study kind of established that. So we got conscientious people, they organize responsible, so they're more likely to be designated drivers, they're more likely to have one and sit down, right? You know, agreeable people, trusting, cooperative, they're more going to be worried about, you know, if I go out, be irresponsible, I might hit somebody, they might have one or two drinks, go call an Uber.
Right.
The problem is that obviously the people who have the neuroticism, right? So they were talking about the responsibility of the companies, and they were saying, would it make a difference? Well, this is what they were saying first, that the companies say drink responsibly and leave it as a blanket statement. But they were saying if they were to operationalize that for each particular product, like Jack Daniels, you know, I like whiskey. So if they're like Jack Daniels, for our product, we recommend that you have, if you're 200 pounds, we recommend that you have 2.5 drinks and then call an Uber or sit down. They're saying that instead of leaving it as drink responsible, they would have operationalized it. Okay, Bud Light, you can have 3.5, and then you got to sit down. Would it make a difference with this first group? Would they just be wasting ink and airtime, you know, or what? What do you think?
Yeah, with the neuroticism group, yeah, I definitely feel like they'd be wasting ink. But I feel like you'd be wasting ink regardless, kind of over. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the factor that they probably don't discuss is that the people that are experienced, that are agreeable, that are more conscious, so on and so forth. I think those are the folks that maybe kind of think long term. So it's more like, okay, I have a lot to lose, right? I'm in school, I'm working, all these different, so I'm gonna put things. The preparation that we talked about a couple topics ago, right? So right. someone such as ourselves, right, who've worked hard to get where we are, right? Yeah, we're gonna go to a party, we're gonna let loose, but maybe we're also kind of thinking like, all right, if I do or if I am, are there gonna be some measures put in place, right?
Right.
Like I know I'm gonna call the Uber. I know I'm gonna be sleeping there. I'm not gonna do anything, even though I'm gonna go get plastered, right? That it's gonna possibly put me in a vulnerable position where I could lose everything that I've worked hard for. True. Right. So I feel like I don't know if it's so much on the it says drink responsibly. You know, the only reason why that's put up there is so, you know, they got to cover themselves as far as that goes. Right. However, I feel like even if we're gonna drink and we're gonna go hard, but it's like other measures that we've already kind of put in place so things don't get out of hand where it's gonna affect the other part of our life, right? Where I mean, I think with the neuroticism folks or that group, I mean, they're gonna go hard and maybe they're not putting as much measures aren't being put in place and they're just kind of going ham.
Well,
you know, that's kind of my thought process.
There you go. You got it from Dr. Kyle. If you know you got to make friends with somebody who's conscientious or agreeable. You know,
that's it. That's what you got to do, man. You know,
make better. If you're gonna go to a party, make sure you drink.
That's it. Listen, guys, look, man. You know, people are just, you know, I don't know. Maybe I think the thought process is more laid out. It's more as far as maybe the people in that group where they're not going to have those results, right? When they do drink, or even if they're not drinking responsibly in whatever sense that may be framed in, you know, they're not going to have as many, the disaster results aren't going to be as, you know, plentiful or you know, as a higher quality or quantity as maybe the folks in the other group.
No, that's a fact.
That's just what I'm thinking, you know, but I don't know. Are you reading the drink responsibly thing? I mean, I'm not.
I mean, no. I mean, you know,
I'm gonna be responsible, but I'm not.
If they were to put that on the bottom on the box, like, you know, 1 to 2 is recommended. You know, I mean, nobody.
I mean, you know, it's reactive. If something happens, you know, they will put something like that on the bottle or on the chart someplace. If an outlier event happens where somebody and then they get sued and so on and so forth, but no one's reading that. You know, I mean, you know, but they got to do what they got to do. I get it. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I asked the question, man. Don't kill the messenger.
Hey, man, listen, bro. Look, man. They want to put the BMI chart up there. They can do that. That's cool. I'll read it while I'm putting it in recycling bin. That's cool. I'll do it.
Terrible, man.
All right, man. Anything else that came across your desk that we should get into before we roll out this drink?
No, I don't really have nothing else, my brother. But you know, just you know, we got some relationship stuff coming up very soon, you know.
Is that
That's
right?
all. Yeah.
It's what the people have been asking for.
I mean, yeah, a couple requests to talk about some relationship, you know, stuff with psychology, and you know, we're gonna do that very soon, as we talked about. So that's about it.
All right,
But
cool. I mean, I'm excited about that. You know, we all got relationships, so whether they be, you know, your personal relationships with your spouse, your partner, or were they your friendships or your family, like it's definitely something that needs to be addressed and talked about. So I'm excited about that.
yeah, we got that coming up. So again, thank you everybody who took the time to listen. Please like, share, comment, and that's all we got this week.
All right. Couldn't say it better myself. Appreciate you coming through, Dr. J. As we do our thing, as we inform the people. Keep listening, keep watching, y'all. Appreciate the support.
All right, bro. Later.
All right.